Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Leaders in Action, Season 5. Building trust in an organization and in the workplace has become a hot topic following the many issues that came about during and even after the pandemic. Trust strengthens the partnership between the leader and the followers and enhances their capacity to achieve their goals. Tonight, we talk about a leadership trait that plays a major role in building trust in an organization: integrity. A Forbes survey a few years ago showed that integrity ranked higher than other leadership traits like fairness, decisiveness, and stability. We will discuss in some detail why integrity is so important and what can a leader and an organization do to maintain integrity in a high pressure and intensely competitive environment.
Good evening, Mr. IB, and good evening, everyone. We are happy that you are with us tonight as we understand more and better the value of integrity, both in our personal and professional lives. But before we do that, we would like to thank again our special guest last week, Mr. Louis Banta, for sharing with us his story of resilience and how he overcame his biggest challenge and found an opportunity in the crisis. So maraming salamat ulit, Master Trainer Louis. This evening, we are privileged to have again with us another winner of the top 30 leaders on LinkedIn. She will discuss about the leadership trait of integrity. Mr. IB, this is a topic that is most timely given that we live in a world with ever-increasing expectations and complexity, when the temptation to do shortcuts is so strong, when doing what is convenient becomes more compelling than doing what is right. Dear leaders, friends, it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest sharer for tonight, the top leader, the winner for the category of integrity of LinkedIn's top 30 leaders, and the CEO, founder of Jesus Hugs Ministries. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss Daisy Lacuanan Calianta. Hi, Daisy.
Hello, blessed evening, everybody.
Oh, good evening.
Hello po.
Thank
Hi,
you
hi.
again for accepting our invitation to be our guest tonight.
It's a privilege po, Miss J and Sir AB, IB.
Thank you. Salamat again, Daisy. I know you're very, very busy nowadays now. Pero to start our conversation, please share a bit about yourself, your organization, and about your mission to end gospel poverty.
Well, in one term po, no, I'm an HR practitioner for many years prior God calling me, 25 years of that. I'm a graduate of law, but my expertise is into HR. So my expertise is really to clean out all the labor cases and make it legal, case-free for any company. And that's what I've been known in the industry. But after that, God called me into ministry, and that's the reason why we founded Jesus Hugs Ministries. It is birth after our youngest son, Josiah, was healed from autism. And because that was birth from the healing that, God has given us, something that was supposedly medical experts said would never be healed, but God healed nonetheless. That's when the Lord started calling me, and I walked away from the HR. Well, not entirely walked away. I'm still an HR consultant, but I mean from full-time work in order to put up Jesus Hugs Ministries. And what we do is actually not just share the gospel, but show the love of Christ by providing free community programs to children with special needs, and to provide livelihood to parents who can't afford to provide their children the intervention, the therapies that they do need. That's how we started off in 2018, but that got spinned off internationally, and now we do extensive counseling for the abused. We provide mission trips, cultural and evangelical at that, not only here but abroad. So that's what have been happening since 2018, and that's what we do.
And you've said that you've gone outside of the Philippines already.
Ay, opo. Yes po.
And I know that autism is something that has been not talked about for the longest of time, no? And I think what you're doing is giving it some platform so that people get to understand what it's all about, and maybe those who can do something about it, like yourself, can really do something about it, no? So I guess our congratulations and appreciation for the things that you do. I can just imagine the demands and the challenge that that condition can bring to parents, no? So again, maraming salamat. Now we go to, you've been quite active ba in LinkedIn, and maybe for that community, how has that helped you somehow in what you're doing right now?
Well, to tell you frankly, no, because like as I said, I'm mostly introvert, so I normally get surprised. So I now I got thrusted now into global speaking. But prior all these things that the Lord has allowed me to do, I just normally keep to myself, no. So I have LinkedIn account, but I never became active in LinkedIn,
All right.
neither in Facebook, no. But when we started establishing Jesus Hugs Ministries, we realized the integral critical role that social media comes into play. So we started off being active first in Facebook and then in YouTube.
Yeah.
But then we started expanding, I think in 2019 to cover LinkedIn. Pero hindi ko siya masyado po talaga sa LinkedIn kasi sa LinkedIn it's more workplace related, no? So
Right.
the ministry that we do, though it's an advocacy about autism, I don't know where to place it. It's a niche. Hindi saan ko siya
Yeah.
ilalagay, diba? But then I realized kailangan din talaga siya sa workplace. I mean, there are a lot of parents like me before na you would think very successful, very okay, but deep down within are undergoing a lot of challenges like
Yeah.
autism in any of the kids. And hindi kasi siya pinag-uusapan, Sir ID, like sinabi mo nga. In fact, 12 years ago, I think less than, mga 10 years naman, kasi 2.5 si Josiah when he was diagnosed. In the Philippines alone, there was hardly anything about autism. So ang hirap when I started researching about it, I didn't have the support group that I needed. I didn't have enough information. And the more I researched about it, the more dissenting opinions and researchers you get. Parang instead na you get enlightened, you get confused pa in the process. And most of the programs are actually targeted only for the children with special needs. But then you realize pala, when autism or any sickness at that matter hits you, it's a family thing, eh, diba? It's not just involving the one who's sick. It involves the caregiver, it involves the family, it's everybody, diba? And that's what we are lacking right now. Yung parents coping with the stress, parents who are shocked and in denial of that news, wala pong nagki-cater nun. And not to mention, it's very expensive. Millions yung na-spend namin to get different kinds of intervention therapies just to have my son speak, no? Ako okay pa po because we can afford, but how about those na who can't? So, normally, when an autism strikes a family, kahit dalawa kayo dating mag-work, isa dyan would have to be forced to stay at home because it takes your 24/7 effort to look after a special child. So can you imagine if you take away one breadwinning capacity on a family, plus all the stress and the physical, emotional, mental roller coaster that go with it, ang hirap. And that's what we bring. We're not just focusing on the child, we're bringing it holistically. Lahat, all players that involves autism.
Again, very nice to hear, because that is something that the whole family, will have to really face, no. So again, thank you, Jane.
You're welcome po.
Daisy, I know that this is not the first time that you got nominated, no, as a top leader in LinkedIn, no, because you've been part of the top 100, no, leaders in LinkedIn. In 2019? 2019, okay. But this is the first time that they did this top 30 leaders, no, and top winner for each of the 5 leadership categories, no, that they have identified. And when Ian and Coach Anda shared it with us during their interview, they advised us, no, that they see 150 unique nominees, no, for that top 30 leaders. And sabi nga natin, no, you emerge as one of the top 30, no? And no, the top leader for integrity at that. What was your initial reaction, Daisy, when you learned that you did not only get nominated but you won, okay? Top 30, tapos top ka pa sa integrity.
Siguro po one word, shock. I mean, it's well,
Bakit ka na-shock? Eh, lagi ka namang na-nominate na before.
shock po kasi I mean, there are a lot of people that have gone before me earlier. Like if you talk about Sir Francis Kong, diba? They are in the industry for what, 20 years? Maybe I'm still a child back then. Rumaratsyada na sila sa karera. And then who am I to begin with? I mean, as I said, I'm a private HR practitioner that have kept myself for 40 years quiet. Diba? So I still look at myself as a neophyte. So I didn't have any expectations at all. I mean, I take it with a grain of salt and I count my blessings each year. If I get nominated, that by itself, no, the nomination by itself for me is a blessing and a miracle. So ganun lang po talaga ako ever since. I mean, I count it one at a time and nagulat talaga. I mean, shocked kasi sabi ko, sa top 100, I've always been nominated since 2019. Nalalaglag pa nga po ako eh. 100 na yun. Eh, 30 to. 30, hello. Dinaglag din. I mean, to my point, I'm okay. You see giants like, di ba, Louis Benda, Paolo, my mentor, Kuya Bori. So, I'm happy just to be with them and be nominated. But to actually take a place, hindi ko na po inabot ng aspiration ko yun.
But you got it anyway. You emerge as the top leader for integrity. Alam ko, siya ka pa. Pero after how many days, how important was that recognition for you? Is that a validation of anything?
Siguro, Miss J, let's put it this way. No? Na-shock ako because I knew first, to be part of the top 30 is a miracle. That's my first miracle, right? Number 2, to end up with a name in between Francis Kong and Shinky Tan. Kasi ako yung pangalawa, doon lang ako sa end. Sa end nga po, parang sabi ko, pakisampal nga ako, parang easy if I'm even part of it. That's my second miracle. And then number 3, to end up at top integrity at that, that's my third miracle. When my husband and I were processing the shock, no, and the good news at that, when everybody else was extending congratulations, I was not interested with the congratulations. I was actually praying, and I was actually talking to my husband, what is the Lord trying to teach us at this point? Kasi Miss J, Sir Ivy, alam ko hindi ako yun eh. Alam ko it can only be divine intervention. So sabi ko, Lord, what we do is non-profit. Kita mo to Miss J.
Okay.
Pag tinignan mo lahat yung organizations that ended up with top 30, it's all private giant or corporations. Kami number 1, non-profit. Number 2, Christian organization pa kami. Sabi ko, Lord, to end up where that is, hindi ako yon. It can only be you. So that means the first realization I've had was, it is never about who I am or what my name is. It is what I do in the company that I am now managing. So it's not about me. It's all about the ministry. That's my first realization. Kasi it's a platform not to highlight myself, but all the things God has been doing during the height of pandemic. Kasi resources di ba, galing sa Diyos yan eh. So, if you look at it, that's my first realization. It is to highlight what God has done. Diba? Kasi when we do charity works, you don't broadcast these things eh. Diba? So God needed to show a platform. Number 2, what did I realize? I realized that when God moves, He moves. Tapos sabi ko, non-profit. Sa lahat ng nominations, because I started trying to remember yung mga nominations na nakita ko sa comment, puro yun highlighting malasakit, compassion, extending of work. Parang hindi sumagi yung integrity doon eh. So sabi ko, bakit integrity? And then
Na-process mo ba?
Na-process ko. Integrity, it's because integrity, as the world defines, is what you do in terms of honest transactions on your own. But then I realized, if it's just the worldly definition of integrity, hindi ako kailangan maging top. And then I realized, because God wanted to highlight integrity based on your relationship and intimacy with God. Kasi ganito yan, no, Miss J and Sir Ivy. if God can entrust me to be honest when I established Jesus Hugs before, when no one else knew me, when no one else is looking, that's godly character.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wala naman po nakakakilala sa amin. In fact, ang hirap po noon na nag-a-apply kami ng permit. Pinababalik-balik kami sa LGU, sa IMO. Sabi, non-profit ka, huwag kang kumuha ng license. SEC is enough. Maraming mga charity who don't need to be registered sa BIR and the like. So, hindi, because I carry with me Jesus Hugs Ministries, meaning to carry the name of Christ. If somebody donates me something kahit piso, I need to have an OR. So, 3 o 4 yata pong balik to explain. Lumapit pa ako sa friend ko who works in, parang, hindi ko alam kung konsehal or something. But bayaw nila akong bigyan ng permit. Magbabayad naman ako. Sabi niya, kasi nga, Daisy, non-profit ka. Kailangan nga more reason kasi pera na dadating sa akin. I have to be honest. Can you imagine? Siguro that's what God wants me to highlight. The story behind it. Kasi po marami ngayon, mga charity works, nagtatanggap ng pera but they're not even registered.
Yeah. Maraming ganyan ngayon.
Kami po registered sa BIR, sa SEC, meron po kaming donations receipt, kahit piso ibigay, we give that.
I think that's one important, parang you take the initiative to be transparent and accountable, no?
Dapat po, kasi hindi namin pera eh.
As you've mentioned earlier, not all people might have the same kind of thinking, no? Daisy, sabi nila of all the leadership traits, integrity is usually ranked one, if not the highest, di ba? And you've mentioned that integrity for you is parang being honest in all the transactions that you have, no? Now, from your experience, no, why is it so important for a leader to have that value of integrity?
Kasi, sir, you have no right to lead a person if you can't even be trusted to do what is right when no one is looking. Kasi ang normal reaction, we put our best versions of ourselves when somebody is looking at us. Parang kailangan magpe-perform ka, diba? There's that perception or branding that you look after. Pero kasi sa akin, sir, you can't give what you don't have. If you're bluffing it, if it's a trait that it's not really embedded in your system, one way or the other, it will smell, diba? Makikita mo, manghihinayang ka, binoto mo si ganito, and then eventually lalabas, ang dami palang tinatago. To me kasi integrity, the fact that you are leading a person, dapat hindi ka fragmented, di ba? Integrity means integrated eh. So dapat yung pagkatao mo, buong buo. Di ba? Kung ikaw mismo torn, may identity crisis ka, tapos ang versions ng sarili mo ay iba when you're at work, when you're at home, you have no right to lead somebody because you yourself need integration eh.
And I suppose that will be so difficult to do when iba ka ngayon, iba ka mamaya dahil iba yung napakahirap.
Lalo pa if, sorry sir, I have to cut you. Lalo pa sir, kung nakakalimutan mo na ito yung pinut up mong front kay ganito, tapos bukas iba. What if you say something and your story keeps changing? Putay. Dapat consistent sir.
Wala yun. Pero tanong ko nga, is it based on what you've seen in your own experience, is it more difficult to have integrity today than it was in the past?
How do I say that? Siguro sir, challenge and issue in integrity has never ceased naman eh. It has always been there kasi nature ng tao maging sinful eh, di ba? Ang pinaka-nature ng tao, self-preservation at mangupit. Integrity is to be honest. And a lot of us, one of the hardest thing that we do is to show vulnerability, which means to be honest. Meaning, marami sa atin nagpapanggap sikat, nagpapanggap collected, pero pala financially ang daming kaguluhan sa buhay, ay hindi naman walang karapatan pala to do that, diba? Kasi we are in a world where perception, sabi nga diba, truth sometimes is not so important kasi yung perception becomes true, diba? So kaya yung mga tao natututong maging dishonest. And to me, if you can't even distinguish the truth from perception and who you are, mababurn out ka sir kasi people would always say, Daisy, there's always varying versions of truth. Sabi ko, mali ka doon. There's just only one version of truth. There shouldn't be many. Kasi yung many angles na yun at focal point, that's lies. It distorts the truth. So to me, dapat perception and truth isa lang. Hindi dapat pinaghihiwalay. So to me, sir, siguro kaya lang siya nagiging extra challenging now because of social media. Dati kasi walang platform na huli ka and then broadcast to the world, diba? So medyo mas challenging ngayon kasi anybody can make you accountable for what you do. But then what's saddening about it, even if outright, no, nakikita mo nang niloloko ka, nakita mo nang dishonest yung tao, basta popular or powerful, sometimes they forgo that. And that's, I think, to me, the moral degradation of going spiral down is, I think, the more problem that's prevalent nowadays more than the integrity issue. Kasi sa ibang bansa, pag may problema ang isang government official, right there and then nagre-resign. Dito sa atin, daming story ang ganyan eh. Parang wala pa eh.
Wala, oo nga eh. We'll get into that later. May tanong ako.
Naku, baka hindi na ako ma-invite.
No, hindi, wala. You're not naman, and this is not naman a local phenomenon. It's something that is happening globally. So that's fine. Jay?
Yeah. Daisy, considering the nature of your organization, how critical it is for integrity to be part of the culture of your organization?
Miss J, that's the core. That's the core trait of all. I mean, well, the first one, of course, we believe in God, no? Diba? Kaya nga Jesus hugs. Pero the core of it kasi is integrity. Kasi, ano yan eh, sabi ko nga, how did I define integrity a while ago? Sabi ko, the quality of being honest, diba? In dealing with transactions, meaning you have high moral grounds. Pero pag you cut it at that definition, it's subject to liberal interpretation. Kasi what is morally correct to me may not be morally correct to Sir Ivy or sa'yo. So I can always say, eto yung moral ascendancy ko, this is my moral standards, and that can be fickle, that can change. So I think the best definition of integrity is ask yourself, saan mo ba ina-anchor yung integrity mo? Jesus Hugs Ministries with us, our anchor of integrity is based on our relationship with Jesus. And I think that to me is what sets us apart in particular. Bakit? Kasi mag-iisip ka, if you're constantly aware that God is looking, even when no one is looking, and you're always looking at work as an excellent worship, and you're just not doing work, and then you're representing God because you are an ambassador of God, mag-iisip ka ng 1,000 times before not to be even honest. Especially po non-profit kami, and the money that are being entrusted to us is not something that was solicited, di naman kami ganon, but something that was born about by relationship. Focus po kasi kami sa relationship building, hindi sa solicitation. I think in the industry that I've worked in, kahit bago ako sa non-profit, I get turned off kasi marami puro donation, solicitation, and I will challenge both of you. You can do background check on our website, even on our FB page. We are never active in soliciting money. Kasi, ito po, it may come as a shock for all of you. Money is the least of your problem if you have a very good intimate relationship with God. Kasi, ang relationship mo, pag may problema ka, magpangangailangan ka, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The Lord's riches in heaven will the one who be providing for me. So kung may problema ako, lalapit ako sa Diyos. And He alone can open doors, can open connections by which we can have those provisions come in. What is more important is there is a vision that allows you to do that mission. When the vision comes from God, He alone also gives provision. So siguro kahit 2018 po kami na-establish, tapos 1 year pa lang kami, and then biglang nag-hit yung pandemic, maraming naging giant sa industry na na-bankrupt. But we never just survived. We thrived. We actually spent relatively 3 million on charity work. Eh dapat yun yung naghihigpit ka ng sinturon, di ba? So you don't know if pandemic will even end. But the direction that God was telling us was, this is the time where people are more afraid most. This is the time when people are lacking. Don't be afraid to let go because there is much more pa in heaven and I can do that. What your job is to be a good steward of what I entrust to you. Be honest and just keep it out, not keep it to yourself. help and be a channel of blessings for others. Kasi pag sarado yun, hindi ka na i-bless. But if you're blessed to be a blessing and you know you are not the owner but the steward of what God has entrusted, it changes the ball game altogether.
Yeah.
Kumbaga, there will always be resource available, no? Hindi mauubos. Huwag kang matakot, hindi
Yeah.
mauubos, no? You're saying. Alright.
They say the vision is very clear, no, and this has really guided your ministry. But they say that in order for a vision to work, no, and a culture to be built, there has to be the systems and the processes that should be in place, no, in order that such will be sustained, no, and promoted first, no, and then sustained. You mentioned kanina one of maybe naisip ko na the processes na nilagay mo is making sure that your ministry is registered with BIR, di ba? With SEC, no? Aside from that, ano pa yung mga ibang processes or systems that you put in place to make sure na talagang integrity, no, ay sustained sa grupo natin?
Ano kasi, Miss J, yung pagiging HR practitioner ko nagamit. Background ko sa law nagamit. Diba? If I'm gonna purely just focus on HR and the law, pwede ako maging stringent sa process, diba? Pero at the same time, hindi kasi ganun lang sa ministry. There's compassion involved, diba? So, sometimes temptation happens if you give room to have that, diba?
Yes.
Diba? Ba't mo pa kailangan i-test yung honesty ng
Yes.
tao? Why don't you just come up with measurements, tools, processes, policies that will keep them honest? So one of the things that we do is, well, for one, yung aming accounts very open. So nakalagay dun sa aming articles of incorporation that even if I'm the president, all the incorporators don't get any. That eliminates already conflict of interests. Kasi alam ng lahat yun, open books, kahit i-ano nila, wala kaming nakukuhang incorporators kahit piso. Because I believe before I established this, my prayer to God was, Lord, yung ministry, fund it yourself. But the way you provide for us, dapat separate. So God has been good. May trabaho yung asawa ko, I do consultancy and the job. Baliktad nga what we do, pag di ba dami nagtatites 10%, if you have income, give 10% to God. Since God has already provided more na through my husband, whatever I get, 100% po yun sa ministry.
So the ministry.
100%. And then that's the reason why, despite pandemic, magugulat kayo, lumalabas yung pera. Kasi God provides on another means, and then He supplies in here, no? And number two, nag-i-issue kami ng resibo because that in its sense keeps everybody honest. So you have partners, di ba? May mga partners ka. As much as possible, ay hindi namin iniiwan lang yung handover kasi nasaktan na rin kami in the process yung magbibigay ka ng handover tapos sorry naman, yung iba hindi i-distribute, di ba? I-distribute nila sa sarili nila tapos ibibigay yung iba, yung pangit dun sa pagbibigyan, feeding, charity, calamity. So one way by which we make it very honest, kami mismo, ma'am, yung nandoon.
Ang
Correct.
and over, okay.
And since a lot of people see that we are actually the ones distributing it, hindi na sila nagbibigay sa LGU diretso sa amin. So ang ginagawa naman namin, we enter into a memorandum of agreement where everything na-account, tapos we provide a report dun sa donor partner. And then we give them pictures of proof of receipt and distribution na wala talagang natitira sa amin. Since ganun kami magtrabaho, all our volunteers and all the people that are, being part of our ministry, natutong maging honest.
Yeah. Oo nga.
Ganun lang, you have to lead by example, madam eh. Kasi kung if they can see na ikaw muna, iniintindi mo muna yung sarili mo, nobody will follow you. Sa amin nakikita nila, we give our very own money. I give my 100% of earnings for the ministry. So, yung trust is built. Sabi ko nga, yung iba kasing non-profit nakafocus sa solicitation. Kami nakafocus kami dun sa relationship building. Kasi when that is built, you don't have to ask people to solicit yung ginagawa mo, they alone will give it to you. Money should be the least of your problem.
So kusang talagang dumalapit, no? Kusang dumarating talaga.
Opo.
Daisy, aside from your people, no, learning to be honest also, no, seeing that from their leaders, ano ba yung ibang effect nito sa mga tao mo? Yung integrity as part of culture ng organization? Ano yung nakikita mong epekto sa kanila?
Transformation po, 'di ba? Una, we're not just building relationship person to person, no? We introduce them first Christ. Kasi parang sa akin ganito yan, mami, kahit maayos relationship natin, if we're not founded on the right faith, wala din. 'Di ba? So, we have God first as our first focal point. We share the same faith, we share the same belief. From there, we grow it. 'Di ba? Kasi hindi ko na sila kailangan bantayan, ma'am. If God is the one that is have a relationship with them, wala na po akong babantayan. I mean, God will make them accountable to what they do. Trabaho ko lang, maging steward at maging manager na maayos.
How about naman din sa mga ibang tao na you interact with? Anong epekto nung nakikita nila na there is such evidence of honesty, okay, above board ang mga transactions ng organization nyo? How does it affect yung inyong partnership with other entities?
You become best versions of yourselves. It leads to transformation.
Mhm.
Diba? Yung level ng relationship hindi na siya superficial, it becomes more personal, more grounded on trust. So it leads to transformation. Pareho-pareho kayo nag-grow. Hindi lang siya one-sided, you grow all together. And then kindness, kasi yung pay it forward principle, when you do something good to somebody and they know it's sincere, it's honest, it doesn't have any agenda in between, hidden agenda, that it brings out also the best in them and it creates a domino effect of kindness. You just have to trust that there is always goodness in the best of people. Sometimes kaya lang nawawala yun kasi there are things that happen in their life. But trust that people would always want to do good when given a chance.
At naramdaman nyo talaga yun during the pandemic, no?
Ay, opo, lahat, everybody. And yun nga, selfless, diba? When everybody was declaring bankruptcy, help was coming everywhere. Kasi since they can't go out para ibigay yun sa mga tao, yung mask, mga pagkain, they channel it through us. Kami naman, what's the use of having faith kung fearful naman kaming lumabas dahil magkaka-pandemic, magkaka-COVID kami. Sir Ivy, Miss J, I praise the Lord. Despite all that, I have not been touched, neither my family with COVID at all. We are at the forefront, namimigay kami. Nagpagawa pa kami ng 2 electric na poso doon sa Isabela during the typhoon. And all that was done remotely. How do you trust that? Talagang transparency sa lahat. Nililiquidate nila para hindi lang kukuha ng pera. And then we ask pictures. You can do it even remote. Teach people to be honest.
Casey, alam mo, maganda yung sinabi mo that we must believe in the goodness of people. And I think that was demonstrated during the pandemic. No? Question lang, leaders have power in their hands, di ba? Kaya lang, if they are not mindful, di ba, narinig na natin parate, power corrupts, correct? Right. So how can a leader maintain his or her integrity when there are so many occasions and temptations to be dishonest and corrupt, especially in public office?
Sir, dalawang grounded ko I mean, I become grounded for 2 things. My belief and faith in God. Yun kasi talaga ang center ng buhay ko If you have faith and believe in God, may kinakatakutan ka. Hindi ka gagawa ng kalokohan, diba? And then number 2, humility. Dapat po kasi talaga very important. Siguro second trait ko po dapat yan na core sa amin. Number 1 is integrity. Number 2, humility. What makes us become drowned with power is when the ego and the pride takes over.
It's over.
Pagka napuno ka na, kasi sir, aminin natin, di ba? Pag nasa leader ka, parang ito, ay, congratulations, Daisy. It makes your head bloated, di ba? So if you're not grounded on who you are and who God is, you can easily get dissuaded. Admit it, pagka maayos ka, popular ka, dami nakadikit sa'yo. Pero tanggalin mo lahat yan, iiwan ka At the end of the day, you only have your family and God to deal with. Bakit hahayaan mo yung konting ego feeding sa'yo to change who you are when you can actually change the whole system? Parang si Vico Soto, tingnan mo si Vico. God-fearing, God-loving, di ba? Ang bata-bata. Pero how is God, multiplying the work of His hands? Kasi di ba, hindi siya nagpapalagay ng pangalan niya. He knows where it's coming from, grounded Hindi siya nako-corrupt.
Again, that's a very good reminder for leaders, no? One is really to be grounded. always keep in mind that kumbaga, you did not do this by yourself, no?
Ano?
And pangalawa is that sense of humility, no? Especially at this time that people get inspired by your example, and by being humble can inspire a lot of people. Jay?
Daisy, you mentioned kanina na talagang innate naman sa tao ang pagiging kind at pagiging honest. But have you had any experience with people who, or mga tao mo who had some integrity issues before? And how did you handle them?
Meron din po, kasi may mga tao na, we would entrust them. Partners, di ba? O Daisy. So may mga massive distributions. It's involving thousands of pesos, no? And kind, di ba? So, minsan, you will entrust them, first-time partners, give them the best foot forward. You expect that they will give you the best foot forward, tapos give them good faith. And then may kita mo, yun na. Hindi pa man din nabababa, nilalagay na nila sa ilalim.
Na talaga.
Ako, sabi nga ni Lord, you can be harmless as a dove but wise as a serpent, no? So ibig sabihin sa akin, naka-mark 'yon. I will be always forgiving, no? I will always be forgiving. Pero fool me once, I'm okay. Fool me twice, shame on me na. Nagiging maingat ako. I choose the people I partner. If I see that on a first note ginawa mo na, papatawadin kita, pero why would I allow myself to be fooled again? I'll find ways and partners na honest and aligned to what I do. Kasi ang vision, ma'am, can only be efficient if the people you're working with shares the same. Isa lang dyan ang mamali. Lahat kayo babaksak. So, if somebody did that to me wrong, I can forgive, pero mag-iisip ako siguro 1,000 times before I'll even engage again.
And that is very clear with your people. I mean, down the
Oh,
line.
yeah. Lalo po when it comes to money, no? Non-negotiable sa akin yon. Hindi ako magagalit sa'yo. I can still be your character, but character reference, pero hindi ako magsisinungaling for you. I mean, these are consequence of actions you made. Accountability mo yon. That's the only way I can help the person be honest, to be accountable for actions he did or she did.
What occasion or what instance are you willing to give a second chance?
Sa lahat ng bagay naman po, I give second chance, diba? Kasi nga, I go for mentorship versus punishment. Kasi si God nga, hindi tayo kinondemn Who are we to condemn? I always give second chance, lalo if I see the person is really remorseful. Tapos talagang makita mo naman na gusto niyang magbago. I think mas turn ako yung tao na caught in the act na siya pa yung matapang, dededmahin ka pa o di-deny, tapos siya pa yung blaming to others versus being accountable. Pag ganun, parang sabi ko, kahit ilang second chance nun, innate sa tao nito yung hindi umamin. So, I'd rather give a second chance to those talagang willing to change.
Yung deserving talaga ng second chance.
I will. Kasi God gave me several chances in my life. Who am I to stop, diba? Pero makikita mo din yun, ma'am. Kaya nga very important when you do with your business is you pray so that God will give you wisdom and discernment what to do.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that, Daisy.
Daisy, is there a difference in the way people actually value integrity? Ibig sabihin, is integrity more valued in the private sector than in the public sector? Kasi remember, again, looking at it globally, all right, diba? Globally, we can see world leaders of today who are noted for lack of integrity. Anong ibig sabihin? And yet they get elected to very important positions.
Sure.
Ano kaya? O what is your comment on that?
Siguro, sir, kasi it takes two to tango. I mean, siguro tanungin na rin natin tayo as those who supposedly put them or elected them. What is our moral compass? Kasi if everybody will put integrity as their number one core point, then you will not elect somebody who's dishonest. Diba?
Not aligned to your...
Not aligned to what your value is. Kaso mahirap po kasi ngayon, people have desensitized their morals because of people that they think are leaders. In fact, yung iba, ina-idolize pa pagka-ruthless, pagka-heartless. Parang, hindi mo naman, to me kasi, kung walang taong magpo-follow, hindi ka leader. I mean, the reason why they are getting enabled, may mga tao rin po kasing nag-i-enable. So siguro dapat tayong lahat worldwide. I
Mm.
thought pandemic would have taught us this, no? Sadly, hindi pa din yan.
Ang bilis ito na tayo. Kita mo, ang sarap ng usapan natin, ang bilis ng oras ha. So,
Sorry.
di ba, Les, nakakatuwa
Oh,
nga ito na yung aking final question sa iyo. Is there any final word for our agency leaders who are listening to us right now as they continue to lead their people in a world filled with so many changes and challenges?
Lalo po sa insurance, no?
Yes.
Sa insurance sa inyo, 'di ba? I mean,
Oh.
money is very essential in insurance, 'di ba? Integrity, I think, in the industry that you're in is very important. For those that are new, no? Or even those na matagal, ganito lang yan, you have to ask yourself, do you want quick money? Kasi in the insurance, and why do I know this? My mom has an insurance agency. So I am very, 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 very knowledgeable about insurance. There are some agents kasi or insurance advisors, no, that are more enamored with the quick commissions, no? If your focus is money and then it's not relationship building, the tendency is to sell your product, not the relationship, no? And it becomes harder because pag napaso yung isa, mauubos yung database mo and no one else will refer you anymore. But if your focus is really building the relationship that you really care, that when something happens to the person, talagang meron pa yung dependence niya. If your concern is not to sell, but to customize the portfolio fitted to the person, it becomes less and less strenuous or stressful from your end to look for clients because they themselves, word of mouth, will refer you, will be giving you repeat business. Siguro ang advice ko for financial advisors, stop being overwhelmed with the quick fix of money, but start building relationship on solid ground. Because when you do, you don't even have to sell. Hindi naman kasi lack of knowledge ang tao ngayon. Pag gusto niya talaga, hahanapin ka eh. Hindi mo lang ibenta, they will research anong insurance ang kailangan ko, anong ganyan. And the next thing you need is your name to pop that you can be trusted. Sir, ganito lang yan. Insurance agency can be equipped with similar to a non-profit. Ang dami-dami pong charity programs. Maraming sikat na charity programs. If I have money, I will always have 100, 1,000 list of charity programs I can give it to. What makes me now stand out amongst the rest is not what I do because everybody else does it, but the relationship and your integrity to do honest business is what makes people remember who you are. So whether it is in the insurance business, in the finance, whatever business there is, your best personal branding is integrity.
Very well said. Very well said. Merong parang phrase na ginagamit for the longest time in insurance about what you said. Is it your mission or is it the commission? No? So again, Daisy, maraming salamat for sharing.
Thank you po for the privilege of being here.
Insights and for reminding us the essence of ethical leadership, no, and making sure that there is trust through integrity in the organization. So I wish you all the best and many more people that you will be able to help in your ministries.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you po.
Yes, thanks again, Daisy, and may you inspire more leaders and more people to be as integrous. No? So maraming salamat, marami kaming natutunan at talagang na-inspire mo kami sa iyong journey. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight with our Real Talk, of course with our special guest, Daisy Lacuanan Calianta. No? So maraming salamat, and we do invite you again to join us next week as we feature and have an interesting and fun discussion with managers Nilo and S. Matunog of AIA Philippines, Cebu. No, so magkikita-kita po tayo. That will be next week as they share with us what makes them tick as husband and wife to be in the same business.
And I'm sure, Jay, it will be another engaging episode. So everyone, we hope to see you next Thursday, 8 p.m. here in Leaders in Action
Real leaders.
Real stories.
and Real Talk.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you.